Hey everybody, it's Safi and Marco Dish Out on Movies, the only movie review show on YouTube to review movies in terms of food. It's just Marco here once again, and I saw a movie really late last night because today and tomorrow I'm going to be busy filming, and in fact I probably did not get enough sleep, and you guys can tell by my voice, or I guess that's just allergies. But anyways, I wanted to see this movie for months. I was so excited about it, not because I thought M. Night Shyamalan is a fantastic director, because he's proven that he's not, especially with what he did with Glass, which was such a disappointment, such a letdown. I mean, you had Split, which Split is like one of my favorite movies of all time. It was one of the first movies that I ever saw twice in the theaters. That's how much I liked it. And, you know, he's had other good movies like Unbreakable, and I haven't seen The Sixth Sense, so I couldn't say anything about that. I kind of don't want to watch it because people spoiled the twist for me, and I really, that's one of my biggest pet peeves, is when people spoil like a major movie's twist for me, and then it's hard for me to watch because I have a really detailed photographic memory, which you guys know all about my memory, and so it makes it a lot harder to enjoy something if I know what's going to happen and I'm just completely it almost is like a turd in the punch bowl, a stick in the mud, that type of thing. But anyways, this movie, it had a really good first trailer, and that should have been the biggest red flag of this movie, is that there's a lot of movies that have really, really good trailers, and then they're really bad movies. And actually, this is a prime example of that. If you guys want to see how to make a movie trailer, then watch the first trailer for Trap, because it tricks you into thinking that this is going to be the best movie of the year. And it makes you think, wow, I am so excited to see that. It looks like such a clever and smart idea, which is also another red flag, because, just because something's a good idea doesn't mean that it's not going to be a Shyamalan mess, right? Like, I've had good ideas, but they didn't turn out into great scripts, which, is why I abandoned some projects. But yeah, so this movie, another red flag going into it was that it was PG-13. And that doesn't mean necessarily that the movie will be bad. That's not destined just because it's PG-13. Like Disturbia was PG-13. The thing about Disturbia, though, the thing that I didn't mention before about it is that they were originally going to rate that movie rated R. What probably happened is that they figured that the main market was teenagers, so they needed to rate it PG-13 to get the teenagers in. But yeah, that movie was originally going to be rated R, and you can definitely tell, that movie is hardcore, intense, extremely violent. Well, I guess especially for a PG-13 movie. With this, it's one of those things where PG-13? You hear about the concept. There's a serial killer. He's at a concert with his daughter, and he's in a trap where they're going to catch him, and they won't let anyone leave, which there's a lot of, questions about this whole concept. I know that I heard that he based it off of a true event that happened, but still, there needed to be a smarter writer in the room for this script. Shyamalan had the good idea, that's good, but there needed to be a better writer who would write like the script out and make it like a story that actually makes sense, is really good, because the story that we get on the screen is so bad. This is easily one of the worst movies that I've seen of the year so far. I ranked it pretty low on my list so far of movies of the year. I wish that I could rate it lower. Like, that is how bad this movie is. This movie is so bad, it could easily be the worst movie of the year for a lot of people. For good reason. They took this amazing concept, this amazing idea, and they ruined it. You know, they wasted a good idea on what I think is partially, or probably the majority of it, is all about promoting M. Night's daughter, who is a singer, a musician, I guess. Her music is okay. It's not anything that I would listen to, probably, unless I was dating her and I had to listen to it. Because, like, I could just imagine, like, the version of this movie that would have been good. And it still could have been Shyamalan's daughter. It still could have promoted her music. And that's the thing, too, like, the movie's bad, and so it's actually going to do a disservice to his daughter's music career, because people are just going to make fun of this movie. And, you know, there's already been like 90% of the reviews have just been, this movie is a trap to listen to M. Night Shyamalan's daughter's music. And it's like, yeah, that was not good to like give people like an opening to say that, because like of how bad the movie is. You know, if this movie had been really, really good, just imagine how, like, powerful and impactful that would be for people to, like, want to watch this movie over and over and over again, and therefore listen to her music over and over and over and over again. It could have really been something, you know, like, yeah. Sorry, guys, I'm just tired. This is probably one of my first ever tired reviews in the history of reviews. I need a nap. So, I'm going to go through my notes now, because this movie is not even worth the time, really. I mean, I was excited to watch it after yesterday when we weren't able to do the commentary, but then, wow, I was sitting there in the theater and I was like, this is not the experience that I thought it was going to be. That's for sure. And honestly, 20 minutes into it, I wanted to leave. I wanted to get out of the theater. It was that bad. It was that dumb. And it's PG-13 too, which makes it worse. You know, the thing with R-rated horror movies is that even when they're bad, they still have naked ladies and blood and violence. And those things don't automatically make a movie better, but they can. They can make a movie a lot more fun. And there was like a weird part in this movie where Josh Hartnett takes off his shirt and he's just shirtless for like 20 minutes. It's really weird. It's like there's no reason for him to have his shirt off, basically. Like, because if you wanted to say like it's because of blah blah blah, I know that there's an argument to be made that I'll talk about in spoilers, but he didn't take off his pants too. He just had his shirt off. Very, very bizarre. And, you know, it's that type of hypocrisy nowadays where I feel like it was to showcase the sexy male star. And it's like, oh, look, he's got his shirt off for like 20 minutes for no reason. But they would never do that with a female character nowadays. And it just shows, like, we have a real problem with this, like, one-sided sexualization of like, oh yeah, we got rid of the male gaze now, and now we just have the female gaze everywhere, and that's perfectly okay, apparently. And it's weird, too, because, like, Shyamalan is a man. So I don't know what that says about him, that he wanted to see Josh Hartnett with his shirt off so bad. So anyways, this movie has terrible dialogue. I mean, I've heard from people now, I guess, that he's known for bad dialogue. I haven't really noticed that because I saw Split, Unbreakable. Those didn't really have bad dialogue for me. But the dialogue was so awkward and unbelievable. Like the whole thing with where he makes friends with this t-shirt guy out of nowhere is just so bizarre. And it doesn't make any sense at all why they're such best friends after talking for 2 seconds. The guy at the t-shirt booth, he wasn't even a dad. Like, you could have imagined, like, okay, maybe if they're both dads, he can relate to him. No, he's just like a single, younger guy, and it's like, oh, I like that guy. I'm going to take him to the back room, and I'm just going to give him all this access and shit, and spill all these secrets to him. And that's not giving anything away. I mean, he did that in the trailer. That's the whole premise of the movie, is that he's the one who gives the let out to the main character that this is a trap. And, from the trailer, I was expecting for them to have already been best friends. I was expecting for it to be like a Get Out situation, where in Get Out he had the funny friend at the TSA that he kept on calling throughout the movie, and then finally that guy comes to save him. I thought that in this movie that guy, that the t-shirt guy would have already been like his drinking buddy, and that it would have been like, oh, hey, you work here? And it's like, oh yeah, I never told you that, or something like that. I don't know, but like, that's what because why would just some random person tell another random person who could be the killer that this is all a trap? It's stupid, it's dumb. And then also, this movie, for some reason, everyone is falling down in this movie. Like, there's a person falling down like every 5 minutes in this movie, to the point of where you could easily take the footage out of this movie and cut it into a trailer to make it look like it's a movie about an outbreak of a virus that has to be contained inside the concert. You know what I mean? Because you take footage of the dad and the daughter, the police, the people falling, and then you could easily just put fake dialogue over all of that to say, like, we've all been trapped in this place. A new virus has hit. Things are getting pretty intense. The singer woman, lady nepotism, has to entertain us while we're quarantining in here or something. Like, you could easily, I know that's bad dialogue, but you could just easily do that. That's how weird it is. Like, why is everyone falling down at this concert? Like, is that something that happens in real life? Is that, like, at concerts, like, people just randomly fall down? Like, like, it just happens over and over and over again. Is it because, like, people are getting drunk or something? Like, I don't understand. Like, I've never seen that before in my entire life. Like, I've been to a lot of conventions. I've never seen this, like, epidemic of people falling down, The plot is really stupid, too. Like, there are just so many ridiculous things that never would have happened in real life. It really takes you out of the movie. Like, there's this one scene, they showed it in the trailers, where the killer, the main guy, he just walks into this room of SWAT guys, and he pretends like he works there, and he's at the coffee so that he can listen in on what they're saying. There's all these moments where he just grabs and steals things. Nobody notices, even though he does it right in front of them. It's so bad. It is. That's why 20 minutes in, after he started doing this shit, I was like, okay, this is just nonsense right here. This is just total ridiculous BS, and it just shows that, like, the effort that was put into this movie was put into promoting his daughter's singing career and not into telling a good story. There are some cool shots, though. That's one of the only things that I'll say about the movie is good. There are some good shots here and there. There were a couple of shots that reminded me of The Shining. I definitely think that, like, he was influenced off of those particular shots and kind of wanted to copy them a little bit because they really looked like straight out of that movie, kind of. So there were some cool shots like that. There were a lot of POV shots in this movie with, like, people talking, like, where instead of over-the-shoulder shots or behind-the-shoulder, I don't know, whatever it is, instead of that, the camera is, like, pointing directly at people's faces as if they're talking to you. I don't really know why that was done, too. Like, it was just weird. It didn't really make sense. It didn't, like, is it supposed to make you feel like you're there? Because, like, in order to do that, you really have to identify with that character, the main character, and you really don't. I mean, he doesn't really have any moment in the movie where you actually like his character. You know, like, he's a really disgusting and evil, yet cartoonish character. There's nothing about him to like. And that's a big problem because, you know, just because he's the bad guy doesn't mean he can't be likable. I guess if you like Josh Hartnett, you would like him, his character. I'm not really a fan of that guy. I mean, I've never really seen him do anything that, like, I was amazed by. He did an okay job in this movie with what he had, though. You know, the acting in this movie wasn't terrible. People just worked with what they had. Like, his daughter was good, he was good. Now, there was one subplot, and it was like a reoccurring thing. It's not giving anything away. But it was this weird subplot about, like, teenage drama between these two girls. And there was this mom, too, and she kept on, like, talking to the main character. And at one point, she started assaulting him out of nowhere, which was pretty bizarre. I was glad that he didn't fall down, you know, because in this movie, if you just touch someone with, like, the tip of your finger, they fall down for no reason. And there's this one part, though, where there's something that's really, really serious that's happening. It's supposed to be really dramatic, intense, suspenseful. None of this movie is suspenseful because it's just crap. You can tell it's a movie. You can tell that it's not real life. It doesn't feel believable at all, which aids to how unsuspenseful it is. And there's a moment, though, where for some reason they cut away to these other characters that are like side characters, like in the middle of something really, really intense and dramatic going on, just for no reason at all. Like, that's how weird this movie was. And so, okay, now there's spoilers. I'm gonna kind of skip through them. And yeah, there's okay, I'm just gonna get through what I think about the movie overall, give it a food review, and then get into the spoilers, because I do have some spoilers to talk about. I mean, 60% of this movie is Josh Hartnett making faces at the camera. I mean, like, that's like, every time he makes, like, a face, you could take a shot. And that's the other thing, too, is that, like, nobody notices him because apparently he's so good at hiding who he is. But this entire movie, everyone else looked normal except for him. He looked like a glitching NPC. He looked like, like when they have the videos of the politicians and they say that, oh, look, they're showing their reptilian face. Like he the whole movie, he never looked or acted normal. His face kept on twitching like he was going to kill someone at a moment's notice. Like, he never acted normal in this movie at all. You could have easily picked him out. Like, you think about, like, the needle in a haystack metaphor. He's not a needle in a haystack. He's like a needle in a haystack with a giant flashlight that's pointing at the sky or pointing at the ceiling so that you know exactly which needle he is. Like, there was this one part, this isn't a spoiler, but there was this one part where Lady Nepotism asks everyone in the crowd to take out their phones and turn on their phone's flashlight if they are able to forgive someone in their lives who has done them a lot of wrong. And if they can release that, then they can be a much happier person. And literally every single person in the entire crowd puts their phone flashlight on except for him. And that should have been a giveaway right there. I mean, why didn't they arrest him right there? It's like, what the hell? Like, that's not normal. That's something a serial killer would do. Like, and it was because, like, well, okay, I'm not going to give that away, but, like, it was so bad. It's so dumb. And then there was another part where you just had to sing along with the singers singing. And he's, like, the only one in the crowd not singing along. He's just kind of pretending like he is and kind of, touching on his daughter, putting his hands on her shoulders, which he does that the majority of the movie. He has this character, he has some kind of weird fixation with touching people's shoulders. And he maintains that throughout the entire movie. It's really weird. It's so just... God, this movie. Ugh. There are a couple little tiny twists. They're stupid twists, though. That's the thing. They're stupid twists. And I can't wait to talk about spoilers. Oh, God. Nope, can't talk about that yet. Or that. Or that. Or that. Okay, so I guess I'm going to have to give my food review now. Overall, this movie was a huge letdown. Stay far away from this movie. Because it's like, even if you're really excited about it, like I was excited for months, as soon as you watch the first 15 minutes of this movie, you're not going to want to watch the rest. Like, because that was how I felt, at least. So this movie really reminded me of middle school, because in middle school they have really terrible lunch options. It was like, I was excited because in elementary school to go to middle school, because I always heard and kind of had the opinion that when you go to middle school and when you go to high school, the food's going to get better and better and better, because it's for older kids, and so they have to eat more and everything, or I don't know, it was some weird thing where I thought the older kids got better food. And so in middle school, though, right off the bat, I learned that the food that we got was just as bad, if not even worse, than the food that we got to eat in elementary school. Like, in elementary school, we had so many days where we just had, like, randomly, like, celebratory meals, like foot-long hot dogs, popcorn chicken, breakfast for lunch, which that was the worst because it was so messy and, yeah, ew. Everyone had to walk by the hand sanitizer and wash their hands after the... Ugh, God, that was gross. Ugh. But anyways, one of the main middle school lunches that I would have, because I would always go home starving. And so pretty soon I just stopped eating in middle school. I stopped eating lunches because I've just figured, like, I'll just get lunch after school. I don't want to pack lunch and take it to school because, I don't know, like, it just felt better to eat something afterwards alone in peace. But what I would get, and this is what they considered a healthy, good lunch in middle school where I live. I would get a pretzel. Yeah, that's right, a pretzel. Like a big pretzel that you get at a concert. I got a dessert, which would be like a cookie or a fudge round, which you'd have to pay extra for that. Or I can't remember how much the cookie cost, but if you got like a fudge round or a fruit roll-up, they cost like 50 cents a piece. Or maybe the fruit roll-up was 25, I don't know. And then you got milk, or you could get a drink. So I would get Izzy. And to say that that's not a meal is like an understatement. Like, that is just like, I mean, you might as well be going starving. I mean, that is not a meal at all. That's probably hardly any calories. And so, like, I would just be suffering throughout the day after that. And that's what this movie felt like. It felt like the disappointment that I felt when I realized that middle school lunch was just going to be shit, and it was going to be even worse than elementary school lunch. So now let's get into the spoilers. Let's see. Okay, so another thing that I didn't mention was the fact that his daughter, M. Night's daughter, Lady Nepotism, she becomes like a main character of the movie. Like, it's bad enough that, like, she hijacks most of the movie so that she can sing and do her music stuff to promote herself, but, like, at a certain point, she goes home with them because the killer reveals a secret to her, and she becomes like a main character. And there's this whole like piano scene where, you know, I get I guess what they were trying to do is build suspense, but there was no suspense because you just thought it was stupid. Like, you can't have suspense if something is really stupid and dumb. And she wants to play the piano, and it's all basically a ruse so that she can steal his phone and everything and run into the bathroom. And when she gets in the bathroom, she talks to the hostage on his phone. And other people pointed this out. Why didn't she just throw his phone in the toilet so that he wouldn't be able to trigger the death device that he had in that one abandoned house or whatever? Because that's what he had. He had this, like, surveillance camera on his phone that also he could trigger carbon monoxide poisoning. Which is really uninteresting because it's like you never get to see this killer's victims. Like, you never get to see any blood or violence in this movie. It's so lame. It's so childish. It's so bad. I think that he purposefully made this movie PG-13 so that little girls and teenagers could see this movie so that he could, once again, get more promotion for his daughter. I think that that was the main motivation behind making this movie PG-13. It wasn't because it was necessary. It wasn't because, like, oh, there was no reason to show any violence. Like, yeah, there was plenty of reason, all sorts of times. We never really got to know any of these characters, by the way. Like, the daughter, we never got to know her. She was just kind of like a goofball, like a goofy side character that just, you're like, she was almost like a video game NPC. She kept on saying the same thing over and over again. Daddy, you're acting so strange. Daddy, why are you acting so weird? Oh my God, Lady Raven! Those are the three things that she said throughout the entire movie. And she never said anything but those three things, so it was pretty bad. And the whole side plot with her and this other girl, I think the other girl was named Jody or something, but like they had some kind of like a falling out, or the other girl was like bullying her. I don't understand at all. But like there's never any explanation for that, of why that was important to show in the movie or anything. Like it was just nonsensical. And as I said, we never got to learn about the killer. There was never any moment where like we saw crime scene pictures and the profiler talking about him. He gets that SWAT walkie-talkie, and that's the way that we listen to her throughout almost the entire movie. These pretentious pieces of dialogue talking about, okay, so he wants to control things, and he's going to try to cause chaos, and he's going to do something very bad, and we have to keep an eye out for him. And this is exactly how she sounded. She was the worst character in the movie. Yeah, the criminal profiler they had at this event, she was the worst character because you never got to know anything about her. I mean, what's really funny is that he purposefully had to make her an old woman so that she could pretend to be his mom at the end of the movie and rip off Friday the 13th Part 2. And so, like, her character was trash. There were so many bad characters in this movie. But anyways, back to my original point. His daughter, Suleika, I think that's how you say her name, somehow, and now I think that she went live on his phone, because she had his phone, her phone, and then she stole the daughter's phone. She takes his phone and she goes live on it on Instagram. And I might be mistaken here, so if I am, then feel free to tell me. But without even signing into Instagram on this guy's phone, she just magically starts going live. Like, it's just stupid. How do you do that? How do you go live on another person's phone without even signing into your Instagram profile? And you'd think, too, that she did that on an unfamiliar device. And so she'd have to go to her email on her device and then verify that, when all she could have done was just go live on her own phone. So, yeah. Ugh, this movie. And so the thing that I was saying with the killer sensing resistance in people's shoulders, or I guess with him touching people's shoulders, there's this part where he's going to take Suleika to go kill her, I guess, which is a dumb idea. But he says that he has to have his hand on her shoulder at all times, which is like the gayest thing ever. Like... It's like, okay, that is really, really intimidating that you have to have your hand on my shoulder. I don't know if you guys can tell, I am continually face-palming myself until something else happens. I don't know. I just, this movie's bad. It's really, really bad. But there's this part where he's like, I'm sensing some resistance in your shoulder. I would not try that if I were you. And I'm like, what the hell is going on here? And so then they're in the car together, him and Suleika, Lady Nepotism. And all of a sudden, because she knows some psychology about the killer and how he had mommy issues growing up, she starts to Friday the 13th Part 2 him. And for some reason it works. And she didn't even have to she didn't even have to hold up the chopped off head of his mother. She didn't have to put on his mom's sweater. All she did was have to role play as his mom and say, Josh Hartnett, you're being a bad boy. You can be a good boy, you know. You can be good. That's all she had to do. And he fell for it almost. But then he was going to take her to kill her. She wasn't able to convince him because she's just a stupid singer. And then there's this hilarious part where after she is easily able to escape that, I mean, the pitch guy, he is going to have a field day if he does this movie, because almost every 5 minutes of this movie, you can say, oh, how did he get to that? Oh, super easy. Barely an inconvenience. You could say that throughout this entire movie. That's how bad it is. But there's this hilarious part where M. Night's daughter and the family are walking back to her limo because, you know, they all know he's the killer now, and they all want to escape him. And meanwhile, he's just standing at the garage like an NPC, acting like everything is normal, and he's just going through a laundry list of like things that a dad would be talking about at home. And it was so hilarious of like, while they're trying to escape him, that he's standing there listing off these things and acting like everything is normal. And then he closes the garage door like, oh, everything is normal here. Everything is fine. It was just really weird. And then there's this ridiculous part, too, where I don't even know if it's worth mentioning. But there's this part where, once again, he is able to hijack the limo and kidnap the daughter, Lady Nepotism. And somehow he's just magically able to steal someone's SWAT uniform and then get rid of the driver and hijack the limo. And if that's not bad enough, there's like thousands of people that have surrounded this limo, and somehow he is able to escape from this limo and set the SWAT armor up as though it's a dummy in the driver's seat. I mean, just make this movie make sense. It is that stupid. And then finally, hopefully we don't have many more notes because this movie sucks. Finally, there's this part where the wife reveals that she's the one who set the trap for him at the concert because he was acting very weird. And so she is the one who tipped them off about him being at the concert, the killer possibly being there. And then she's like, how about we enjoy one last piece of pie before you kill me? Because it was just them, so, you know, he could have killed her if he wanted to. And it was funny because this actress... Okay, well, actually, let's not get to that yet. So, he says, eating this pie isn't going to delay things at all, you know? I mean, this pie, it'll take me 5 bites to eat the whole piece. Because it was a smaller piece, too. I mean, she took a regular piece and she cut it in half. But then after he says that eating this pie isn't going to delay things, all of a sudden, he goes into like a 10-minute monologue where he just talks and talks and talks and talks for 10 minutes. You know, that typical movie cliche where the villain continuously talks so that the hero has a chance to get them back. Yeah, really good writing here, guys. Just really, really fantastic filmmaking. Not. And then, as it turns out, it was just kind of a ripoff of American Horror Story Cult, because this is the actress who was like the wife in that show. And in that show, of course, it was Crybaby who was poisoning her. So that they had like a whole scene that was exactly like this. And also, this was the scene where he had his shirt off, by the way. And it's like, once again, Maybe he had his shirt off so it wouldn't get blood on it, but he was going to kill himself. And if he didn't want to get blood on it, then why did he wear his pants? He'd get blood on his pants and shoes too. That's why in American Psycho, Christian Bale was literally running around naked. Because that's what you'd have to do, or you'd have to have that plastic suit on to kill someone and not get blood on you. But there's this whole scene where, she drugged the pie with crushed up pills, and it was just like a total ripoff of the scene in American Horror Story Cult. And it was funny because in that moment I thought M. Night Shyamalan must have watched that season, and he must have thought, oh, cool! And then he just copied and pasted that moment to this movie. And it doesn't even work because it's so stupid. Like, he's drugged, and apparently it's medicine to calm you down, or it's pills that calm you down. So I don't know what that would be. But then he's able to, like, fight off SWAT team members as he's being tased. Like, he's being tased by 2 SWAT team members, and he's able to throw down with them. And then, of course, they do the Friday the 13th Part 2 trick again. And this time, the profiler does it, and that's the moment that I figured out that, I don't know what just happened there. That was bizarre. But that was the moment that I figured out that he had to cast an old woman just so that she could do the Friday the 13th Part 2 thing. And then, let's see. And this killer is so weak and pathetic that he'll fall for it even without the sweater and the chopped off head. I mean, that's pretty pathetic, right, guys? This movie did have one sliver of a good idea at the end, which is the dad was really mad and sad that he had to go to prison and not watch his kids grow up. But it totally contradicts the way that he acted to his daughter throughout the entire movie. He used her constantly, and even at the end of the movie, when he pretends to care about his daughter's bike, when he's picking up her bike in front of the SWAT team, he's magically able to break off a metal piece from the bicycle wheel to escape in the SWAT car. And he's able to do that right in front of an entire SWAT team. So, yeah. Yep, I guess that's it. This movie was really, really bad. Stay far away from it, as I said. So please like this video and comment and tell me what you thought of this terrible movie. And then please subscribe to our channel if you'd like to see more honest movie reviews. Goodbye, everybody. See you soon.